The new channel. The new channel. The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following show are those of the hosts, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good lunch! Welcome to the new channel. Here to help you see the new you. This is your host, Jesse Francis Rebustillo of this wonderful program, the HR Hotline. Welcome back to the HR Hotline. I just hope you can listen to my background music. This is actually the music that I listen at night when I do my slides for the webinar. I chose a piano background. It's actually for my nephew-in-law, who is a pianist, Joe Shippey. But anyway, I will try to uh, hold it now so that I can continue. We have a wonderful topic today. It's about timekeeping and payrolling. But before I go to that, let me greet all of those who are now they are watching us. Thank you, past president of PMAP, Obet Policarpio. He's actually our, what do you call this, Suki, a fan of the HR hotline. Actually, I am requesting him to watch me and also with my best friend, Femery Kabanta, so that after that, we debrief and try to assess. As a learning and development professional, I follow assessments after, evaluations after, and it is Kirkpatrick. And I asked my best friends, Albert and Femery, to see was there any learning that happened during the episode? And that's actually what we have to do. Ayan, Mr. Edgar Franco is already in. He is also a trustee and a dear friend of mine from the Philippine Society for Talent and Development. Okay, so our topic is so near to the heart of a working individual. Because how do you reckon your attendance? Time immemorial, that was the problem of HR. How are we going to account for the time that we are in our offices? Our performance, the length of work that we do. And sometimes it becomes so controversial when we now compute for the overtime for the hazard pay. So timekeeping is important. I remember when I was an HR manager of a construction firm, I have to assign, deploy in all our construction sites a timekeeper, which also acts as our extension for the HR. More so, aside from timekeeping, we have payrolling. Again, this is an important activity or function of HR. People have to make sure that they receive their salaries, their pay after some time. I just don't know in practice who actually computed that it has to be every after 2 weeks, which is why we have weekly paid and we even have daily paid. So the question is, should it be with finance? Should it be with HR? And what should be there in the payroll? Will it include the benefits? I remember because I teach this now. I do webinars on performance management. If you are familiar with the 3 Ps, when there is that we call the pay for person, and that is the pay plan, and that is what is actually appearing in the payroll. Then you have the pay for performance, and it's actually starting with your KRAs and KPIs and coming up with your objectives. But you have to be competency based. Then you give your bonuses. The question, I will ask that to our guests later on. Should you include the bonuses in the payroll? Because I know the fundamental concept, the concept is that should not be embedded on the pay for person. So that is the question. And then we have the third one, the pay for person, pay for position, pay for performance, and pay for person. And the person is about your competencies. You have to be profiled if your competencies, if you are already achieving the competencies expected from you. Now, if you cannot understand me, woe to you. You have to call me and then we have to start a conversation, and I should be invited to actually uh, train your HR staff. By the way, let me mention this. PMAP will have its annual conference on uh, September. Yes, yes, September 21, 22, 23. No, October 21, 22, 23. That is the People Management Association of the Philippines. PSTD, where I am the chairman, will have its national convention on November 16, 17, and 18. PAPS, that is the Philippine Association of Professional Speakers, where I am the president now, will have its annual conference on September, which is why, with the associations that I'm engaged with, a little bit sometimes, I'm a little bit already confused. PAP September, PMAP on October, PSDD on November. And I want you to be there. And I want you to be there. The reason why I mentioned that, because I also do webinars with PMAP. I have at the end of this month a webinar on HR supervisory. Actually, some managers are still on the HR supervisory. When we say HR supervisory, that means these are the positions or the HR people wherein you are in charge of a particular function. Say you're in charge of L&D, you're in charge of acquisition, you're in charge of um, what do you call this? Succession planning. You're in charge of performance management. Take it, please. It's only a half day a course because what I mentioned earlier, which is the three P's, I will mention that there. Maybe a 30 or an hour discussion on that so that you'll have an idea of what will be your coverage. I have already, this is my, I am carrying my L&D hat. I have already, what do you call this, um, came up with uh, webinars for HR supervisory, then recently had for HR managers. Then I also have one for HR leaders. That should be distinguished and delineated. Delineated. Just like when we do training on supervisors, managers. Why is it that I'm mentioning that? Because we have to be updated. Now, going back to our topic, one of those that we have to be updated, how will we reckon time? As an HR supervisor, as a supervisor, as an operations supervisor, as a manager, there is a new school that tells us that you don't actually reckon time anymore. Much more that we are on a pandemic. It is output based. So it's very similar to the traditional system of per piece. But we still have to reckon the time involved because that is what is in our mindset. It's still very difficult to transition as HR managers and as supervisors. How will you really reckon time? So, let me introduce to you our special guest today. He's actually a friend. My engagement with them is that first time I met their CEO, Judah Hicks. Then later on, because we are friends, I was introduced to this very what do you call this charming guy. He's an Australian. He's an Australian, and there are a lot of engagement that we do because I try to help them with some of their activities and programs. He used to work with healthcare. I That's why he sounds familiar because I was with Inquirer and I remember we published and I read it that we gave that their organization received an award. I will ask him about it, and he was the chairman then. And then um, he asked the CEO of Pfizer. Now he's the CEO of Salarium. Salarium is a solutions company. We'll have to ask him from him. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome my dear friend, the charming Brent Denning.
Hello, Jesse. How are you? Thank you very much for the introduction.
Seldom that I use the adjective charming to a gentleman. But you are. But you are. I remember our meetings in Glorieta. In Glorieta. Oh yeah, yes, it's in Glorieta. Yes. How are you, Brent?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well, Jesse. And I must confirm you've just given me a promotion. I'm actually the COO. You said the
Yes,
CEO,
yes.
but thank you for the promotion.
Yes, but we corrected it already because I'm very sure Judo will be able to see it. It's now corrected. It's here.
Yes.
One of these days I will also have that as a topic: the difference between a CEO and a COO. Yes.
No problem.
Okay. Thank you to be here. Where are you? Where are you now? Where are you? I'm sure you're at working from home. Where are you now?
No, actually, I'm in our corporate headquarters here in Makati, so I'm in the office today.
Oh, you have to be careful. That is
Yes.
a hot spot. You have to
Yes,
wear
yes,
your.
we've got I'm in the room alone, but yes, have our
The
safety
new
PPE.
normal is that you have to have a face mask and a face shield.
Yes, correct. Yes, that's a new change for us next week.
Okay. I mentioned that you were with the Pfizer Foundation. What was the award that you received then?
So so the Pfizer Foundation, being in healthcare, was obviously trying to give back to the community, and so we were focused in a couple of areas. So in terms of healthcare, we worked with a number of cancer organizations, helping them not only with medications, but also a lot of support in terms of how they work with patients, cancer patients, how they
Oh, yes,
communicate.
I recall now. So that was with
Yes,
the cancer patients.
yeah. So
And you did a program for them. Okay. So let
correct.
me
So
ask you,
yeah. Sorry,
what
yeah.
how was the shift from healthcare to an HR solution? Because you are now with Salarium.
Yeah, so it was a huge shift moving from healthcare to technology, is the way that I would put it. I mean, technology is a lot faster moving than healthcare. Like healthcare, it is an enabler, and enables productivity. And I guess healthcare could be defined as enabling health. So from that point of view, the speed of the two operations was radically different, and really did take some adjustment. In terms of your original question, HR, moving from, say, healthcare to HR, actually there wasn't a huge difference, because HR fundamentals cut across, and I know you work with dozens of different industries, so the HR fundamentals and the assertive or the aggressive HR approach that I've experienced in different places, different companies. It really is common, so it's not industry centric. So from that point of view, a lot of my learnings from a multinational organization were easily transferred into a business such as Salarium.
Yes. Now, before we have the break, let me tell you, how is Salarium now?
Yeah, well, look, we're busier than ever. Obviously, everyone has been impacted one way or another with this pandemic. But
How will we call you? You are a solutions company?
yeah, so we're a payroll solutions
Your
company.
payroll
Yeah,
solutions. And
yeah.
then, of course, Salarium is salary, but what is that? Is that a Greek? Is that a Roman word?
It's actually Latin. It's
Latin.
Latin for pay. So, the root word "sal" is Latin for pay. Yeah.
Okay. We'll ask you more about that later on, but I have questions for you after we have the first break, and it's all about timekeeping and payrolling.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, can we have the first announcements for these episodes? I have to announce something. It's an advocacy of the new channel, which is why I have my background music again, and this is for Jam and Joe. The new channel, together with SJ COVID-19 survivors, urged public to join blood donation drive to address shortage in time of the pandemic. Members of the Scintilla Juris fraternity who survived the COVID-19 disease have been religiously donating convalescent plasma ever since the recovery to help COVID-19 patients. And the prevalent situation they have been hearing firsthand is the scarcity of blood supply due to the lack of donors. The simultaneous blood drive will be held in Tuguegarao, Baguio, La Union, Pangasinan, Quezon City, Legazpi, Naga, Romblon, Iloilo, Palawan, Pagadian, Gipos, Zamboanga del Sur, and Zamboanga City this Friday, the 14th of August, 2020 at 8 a.m. Philippine time. The highlight of the nationwide project is the convalescent plasma donation to be held at St. Luke's Bonifacio Global City on the same day to help heal our COVID-19 patients. For more information, please check out the schedule we are flashing now on the screen. You know, this is one way that we are going to help. So calling, if you know somebody who has been a COVID patient and has recovered, we are asking for their what do you call this, convalescent plasma. This is from the Scintilla Juris fraternity, and TNC is actually collaborating with them, and this is most needed at this time. So it's now being flashed on the screen, and it would be nice if you can. And this is live stream, and I know you share this and share this to your friends. And for those who are viewing, kindly help and contribute to this novel uh, project. Okay, so can we continue? I like it. I have a background music. Next time it will be violin for my lolo, and after that cello for my brother. I love it. I love it. I love this live streaming. So let's go back to Brent. Brent. Okay. Can we have Brent again?
Here I am.
Yeah. Brent, let me ask you this. Aside from recording attendance, what are the other importance of timekeeping? This is very basic, but let us tell the world what are the other functions and importance of timekeeping.
Yeah, sure, Jesse. I think you've alluded to it a couple of times in your discussion. I mean, the most basic act of timekeeping is in most cases seen as administrative. In nearly all cases, it really is just an administrative function that leads to an outcome of calculating and then processing payroll, and I guess everyone that gets paid is involved in payroll, so everyone has an opinion. But the thing that I find, we meet hundreds and hundreds of clients every year, and I get the wonderful opportunity to interview clients and their needs and what they're trying to achieve. And there really is more depth to timekeeping. There is a strategic aspect to it, and
Yes.
I think this is the part that we have a lot of conversations around.
Yes.
It always starts with, I want to save time. I want a easier, more efficient
Yes.
way to record time. But you don't get too far into the conversation when clients start wanting to understand, okay, this is my connection to my workforce. Okay, so am I getting value for what I'm paying for? And timekeeping is just a number, but am I truly getting value from them? And more importantly, can I see it? The next thing is, well, this is my resource, and how much of my resource have I got working in a particular area on a particular project for a particular part of the company. And these are questions that people obviously don't always have answers to, when they're considering the organization. And then connected to that is, shifting and scheduling. And depending on the organization and the type of the organization, that is often done at very grassroots levels, at working levels in the organization. And the visibility of that is often not seen at middle to higher levels in the company. And just even understanding, do we have our resources in the right area? Do we have people working at the times that the company needs them the most? If you're in retail or hotel or something like that. So there's a lot more than just clocking and recording the time. In terms
it's actually looking into the performance, and then it is what we actually say, the analytics. The timekeeping is the source of your data to analyze for your job analysis. If a particular position if you really need more, not only job analysis, for your manpower planning. If you need more resources, if you have less resources, because you are now reckoning the contribution of the person against the time that he is performing it. Right?
Correct.
Am I right?
Absolutely, and the first thing that comes to mind is a very large client of ours that's in retail, and they wanted to understand their manpower resourcing versus sales, and different shifts throughout the week, and to better optimize, did they have the right manpower for the busy periods throughout the week, and they had prior they had no centralized visibility of at store level. They the store managers in charge of the shifting and scheduling, etc. So the store managers managing it best, but across their network of stores, they didn't have that visibility. And that's what you're asking, like more than just the administrative aspect of timekeeping.
I'm smiling here. Brent, because the COVID-19, the pandemic, is now telling us what you are just saying, is now telling us that everybody is actually working from home. So this is the time that we have to discern and really think about our presence, the number of hours that we have to need to do. I remember before, when I was an HR, there are some supervisors or keep on asking additional manpower, not actually looking at the timekeeping. That might be their an example of which their collectors or their accounting staff are actually not being fully utilized. They are just sitting there, timing in and timing out. But the data that is coming, that is really given to them, is not analyzed. Okay, so tell us, what are the various payroll and timekeeping systems? Always start with timekeeping. What are the various timekeeping and payroll systems?
Yeah, sure. So I'm smiling because this is such a wide variety of methods. Starting from nothing. So some people, not many, but some people just pay off a shift and a schedule, and just pay based on that. So if the person is scheduled to work, then they'll get paid. Then I've heard all sorts of mechanisms and methods. So you've got printed forms where the shift supervisor's writing forms down, random pieces of paper, text messaging, even phone calls. People have to call in and say, "Hey, I'm at the office today," or and it has to come from the office number, and then somebody at the other end of the phone is writing that down. So I've heard all sorts of mechanisms. Then fairly common you'll see around the place is a biometric device sitting out the front in reception or at the front door, where people are obviously using that to clock in and clock out, and there are a huge number of different devices around. So you see that as quite common. One of the downsides to most of the devices that you see is that they're basically a separate unit to your payroll system, so they'll get downloaded on the payroll cycle every 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever the cycle is, which means it only gets looked at the time of payroll. and therefore it truly is just an administrative function. So if someone's tardy for, perennially across the 2 weeks, it's not picked up until payroll time or payroll processing time.
Right.
And at that point, it's probably not even, it'll adjust the pay, but it's not actually acknowledged or noted or something's done about it. And then we've got more advanced methods now evolving. So facial recognition devices definitely becoming popular now, particularly with people not wanting to touch anything, let alone a biometric device that every other person has touched. And one that has been around for some time is RFID. So where people are using their office ID to tag on an RF device, and that either opens the door or clocks.
Let me cut you. Do you have statistics on that? On how many are still using the traditional, wherein they just list and then they put in time in and time out, and how many are actually still on the bandy clock? How many are now in what you call a little bit automated, the biometrics, and then how many are in the face, and how many are on the RFID? Do you have some, or just an estimate,
Look, I certainly have some estimates based on the conversations that we have. We do poll, when we're talking to our clients. The paper-based system is probably the minority. It's probably about 15% of users. By far, the most common method that we come across is a standalone biometric device. It would be 50 or 60% of the time that people are using a standard biometric. Maybe 5% are using a phone call or a text, dialing and phoning in. It's not always universal across a company. So often sales teams, because they're out and about and they're not showing up in the office, or they were out and about, they would be often using text.
Let us ask our viewers, all of those viewers, Jennifer, Josie, Richard, they are here. Can you post in the chat box what is the system that they are using? Just curious. Maybe one of a couple of our viewers are still using the paper timing in and timing out.
Yeah, I didn't even mention the Bundy clock, but occasionally we do see an organization with the Bundy cards. It's not so common, but yeah.
But there are some organizations wherein it's blended. They have some Bundy clock. There is also the biometrics. I am just curious if so generally the same. Sabi ni Josie. Si Ami, she just posted, I am late. Oh, that is actually timekeeping. That is actually timekeeping. Ami is hey, my secretary is up to now. We are all seniors, but she's still beautiful. So we are just curious because I'm asking you for some statistics. I know you had pulses with Salarium. You have surveys that you have to. You have surveys wherein you ask your clients to fill up, and I think this will be nice if you're going to ask them where they are. But I'm very sure with the organization that you are engaged with, they're actually using the more sophisticated one. Anyway, let me ask you, in your opinion, where should timekeeping and payrolling be? Should it be with HR or should it be with finance?
Yeah, excellent question. So I'll sit on the fence and say both. But no, I'll give you an answer. I'll give you a specific answer. I think most people do see payrolling and timekeeping as an administrative function, and a very painful one. So in that respect, I do see a lot of finance departments administrating it because obviously eventually it involves cash and a payment. But I also see a lot of people administrating it from HR. And from my mind, if people are approaching timekeeping and payroll as an administrative function, which is the majority, it doesn't really matter which part of the organization it sits. That's just, I guess, up to the organization's design and task allocation. Because I don't see one group doing it in an administrative manner better than the other. But if you start to talk about what we were talking about earlier about workforce management, resource management, then it definitely shifts to the HR, more to the HR side of the organization. Definitely when it comes to remuneration and benefits, employee benefits, then obviously it firmly sits in HR, and then getting what you're paid for, and understanding your resource allocation across the company actually moves more into general management side, and what's the balance of operations and where do you have your resources, and often that sits outside even HR and finance. So it is a mix, but I would more ask the question in the company: is it administrative, or is it actually being used strategically to drive decisions and engagement and workforce productivity?
Okay, right. Nice answer. If it is taken as an administrative, then it's more finance. But if it's taken more for, say, for employees' benefits, for your growth, for your performance, then it has to be HR. I think it should be with HR because the owners of the pay plan is actually HR. The compensation, the movement is actually HR.
Yes.
Anyway, so the next question, now that we are working remotely, especially here in Manila, and we are work from home, how do we track attendance now? What are your thoughts on this? How should we track attendance now?
Yeah, so this is a challenge that's put a lot of, or almost every company in this situation, and it's also the reason why we've gotten very, very busy during this period. So you can resort to the methods I was saying earlier, using the telephone or even emailing. I'm at work today, or on a chat message, or you can there's great technology, and Salarium's one of the providers of this technology that has shifted timekeeping and payroll into the cloud, and payroll processing, which basically gives you access anywhere that somebody's got access to the internet. So definitely the number one question we're being asked now when somebody calls us or messages us or chats to us is, how can you help me track my people at home? How can you help me manage time?
Let's go first. But Brent, we're moving too fast. Let's go first from the basic. That means from your traditional system, you must go into what you call a computerized system.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
And that is, can you tell us as basic? So they have to, what is it? Download an app, get a system. What can you what can you advise us?
Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, I guess what you're asking is payroll systems. What are your choices?
Even with timekeeping?
Yeah.
Do we have to buy it? Do we have? How can we? Since we are now working remotely, how can we access to that? How can we avail on that?
All right. So okay, let's go back a step, as you say. Right. If you look at payroll systems, you can go from the most manual system to the most hands-off, friendly, free, and
the manual is scary because there is physical distancing.
Yeah, well, so manual is basically Excel. Okay, and you would be surprised. I was giving you stats on, say, biometrics. 80% of the organisations I meet, on an annual basis, are using some form of manual calculation for payroll. In other words, using Excel or Sheets or something. And so that's fed with a lot of human intervention through all of those methods I was talking about earlier, whether it be text messages or cards or Bundy sheets and so forth. Then the next plausible option is some software that you would purchase. You'd physically purchase, and you would put that onto your computer, onto the administrator's computer, and you'd run payroll from that computer. And that's good because it automates the calculation, and it automates the taxation rates, and so on and so forth. But it still needs to get data put in. Somebody still has to sit there, and so that whole timekeeping challenge, you still have to do that. The downside is also as laws change, labor laws change, tax rates, etc. That software requires updating. And so you've got to make sure that and then all software has limitations, in terms of fitting, your company's policies and the way you want to pay. The next stage after that is outsourcing. And outsourcing is kind of like this is so confusing and it's so difficult and I don't want mistakes, so I'm going to ship it out of the organization. But the challenge with outsourcing is, apart from paying excessively, is you still have to do all that hard work of timekeeping. You still have to manually get that data to that outsourcer. And where it really falls down is with changes. So-and-so worked an hour's overtime last week and that was not included in the time record. So please update that on the record.
So you still have the problem.
Correct. Like we have a new employee. They started on this date and on this pay rate. So there's this endless communication between you and the outsourcer. So what seems like it's a sort of hands-off, very, very time-efficient mechanism actually is just as time-consuming as you running your own software or running your own Excel. And then through the power of cloud, the fourth option is, and there are many vendors, we're one of them, but having a cloud-based software system. So instead of the software being on your office computer or your administrator's computer, it's one software, it sits in the cloud, and everyone in your company can access that as long as they've got access to the internet. And this is where it starts to get very powerful.
Okay, before we go to that, the details of that, I have a question. So one is, what is your advice? You have to purchase, or it has to be somebody you outsource it, and we call it in layman's terms, subscribe to it.
Yes.
What is better? What is better?
I think definitely subscription is better. It helps you manage cash flow.
Yes, because when you purchase it, there will be obsolescence and then maintenance.
Correct. And you fork out a lot of money up front. So there's also, particularly times like this, people are very cash flow sensitive. So,
okay, let me make it clear to those who are listening and viewing us. We are not talking of the system, the software that you're going to purchase. I'm now asking Brent here, what is his opinion, which is better? Should you purchase it just like when you purchase an HRIS? I know that if you purchase your HRIS before 2016, you cannot use it now because there is no analytics configuration of features in that. So similarly for your timekeeping and for your payrolling, if you purchase it, it may already have become obsolete with all the new things. Now the other one is the subscription wherein it is outsourced. Okay. Now if it is outsourced, Brent, please continue on what is about that cloud, so that we can answer my question that you are working remotely.
Yeah, so let's get to that. I mean, I think most people understand the cloud. There are so many technologies now in the cloud, and it gives you access to a really powerful system at a very affordable price. Depending, and you only pay for what you use, the number of users that you use, and it means that we update the system once. So every time DOLE changes the labor laws, every time the BIR makes a tax change, then we update that. Our competitors do as well, and that means you've always got an up-to-date and correct system. So that's one aspect. Is the system is maintained, and you just pay your subscription, and you will always have the latest and greatest. The second benefit, which is definitely the most powerful one, and that is that it gives everyone in your company connectivity to one system. Whether you're an employee that's clocking in and clocking out, or aligning to a schedule, or you're the admin, payroll admin that's actually processing and running payroll, you're all on the same system. So data just moves around the system. It never comes in and goes out of the system, which reduces significantly human mistakes and human error. But in times like this, it gives the flexibility for people to clock in and clock out from their home, from their mobile device, from any device that they can.
I was about to ask that. I was thinking, can I ask an ignoramus question? And I was about to ask that. So can the HR person who is in charge of timekeeping and payrolling can do it working from home?
Yes. So anywhere you can access the internet. So if you happen to come to the office one day, be part of a skeleton force, you can use the system through your phone or computer to clock in. If you're working from home or another place that you're staying with family or something because of the situation, then you can
Another ignoramus question. How many will be involved in that? If say we have that system, how many persons will be engaged in that activity?
Well, in terms of how big a company can be, or just in terms of how many people are involved in the process?
I'm talking on the slant of the HR. How many people will be involved in HR if they are going to have that system?
Oh, a very minimal number, very, very minimal number, because you just log into your screen, one person, and you can see the whole company's clock in and clock out for that day, for that hour, for that minute, just at the click of a button. So processing and getting visibility to that is absolute minimal workload.
So that's wonderful. So they can do it at home and only very minimal to do it. And then the next question is it affordable?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's cloud services, as I say. Millions of dollars is spent developing the platform software, and then for a small fee per person, companies can access that multi-million-dollar platform that only in the past large companies, very large multinational companies, would invest that kind of money in a software system. So
okay,
it really
before we go to the final break of this program, let me ask you, because a lot of my students in PMAP or my consultancy are asking, how safe is that? How secured if they're going to be on cloud? Because Filipinos that we are, there is always that behind our head, we always think that this is confidential, this should be secured. How secure is that?
Yeah, so we use the world's most popular platform, which is Amazon Web Servers, and they have a very, very strong reputation for their double authentication technology and their access technology, and so we piggyback on that security, and that's where all our information is kept and stored securely. We're very proud of our history in terms of data loss. We've not had any data loss in the inception of the company, which is now 7 years. That's piggybacking on the technology of Amazon Web Services. So they have a very, very strong record of being secure. So you and the organizations can really take comfort in that.
Okay. We'll have a break, Brent. I still have a couple of questions before we say goodbye. Time runs so fast, so we really have to time keep. I found out that there is a difference between keeping time. Keeping time is actually music. You keep with time or keep on time. The TikTok, I can still remember. That is keeping time. But timekeeping is different. When it's timekeeping, you keep the time. So these are just, but time runs so fast, so we have to keep on time, but we have to time keep. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. So don't go away. We'll go back to you, Brent. Let's have the second announcement for this episode. Ah, Jennifer Nuya, she mentioned that I used the word ignoramus question, and she recalled a lot of fun memories with one of her professors. You know, a lot of my vocabulary, it really came from my from my DNA. The ignoramus question is actually from my Lola, Josefina Neri Napay. Uh, a question that she's mea culpa that she doesn't know. She would actually blurt out, "Oh, this is an ignoramus question." Jennifer, I thought, Jennifer, you're going to sponsor this a program. Please PM me. And Danis is also listening. Wala, nako, I am now a salesperson. I used to be. I used to be the VP for sales, advertising sales with Inquirer. But you know, with Danis, I am now with the online sales also. And mind you, I already have uh, clients. So the one that I ordered last night, I don't have. It's well something. And next time I am going to promote that also, and so that Danis will sponsor this show. Now, this is supposed to be the portion of the job fair, and then mea culpa. We are not yet into that. We are still on the insights of the HR hotline. But when we talk about job fair, FARE, how do you fare? How do you fare with timekeeping? Ami is actually listening now, and Josie. You know, we have Ami, PM me later on. We have funny thing that we did when we were office mates as far as timekeeping is concerned. Yes. So I got lost. How do you fare? How do you fare as an HR person, as a employee? How do you fare with your timekeeping? For the employee, do you make sure that you wake up in the morning? This is pre-COVID, or even now, if you're reporting, to be actually on time and in time. There's a difference between on time and in time. On time. So how do you fare as an HR? I remember in Inquirer there was that question: should we let go of a person who has been absent for how many times? But I asked for a waiver unless we can have uh, a replacement for that person. So how do you fare with timekeeping? How do you fare with your uh, payrolling? The little miscalculation can really mean a lot to a person. So what is now being flashed on the screen are some positions that are still vacant with uh, Wills Design and Associates, a construction firm in Quezon City. This is now FAIR, the job fair. And here also, careers for at puzzleboxinc.com. They still need you with in Puzzlebox. So kindly send your application and CVs to careers at puzzleboxinc.com. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have to be thankful that we still have jobs. But again, let me ask you, how do you fare? How do we fare as far as timekeeping and payrolling? Can we have Brent again before we close the episode? Yeah, Brent. Okay, you didn't give us. I know you are not a salesperson like me. You didn't give us how they are going to contact you.
Okay.
If anybody is interested, how will they contact you?
Yeah, sure. Many methods. You can go straight to our website, salarium.com, and just put your details in there. We'll get back to you very, very quickly. Or you can email us at sales@salarium.com. Anyone that's interested in, getting more efficient in administrating your timekeeping and payroll, then we can help that out. If you want to get more out of it, as we're talking about the strategic side, of payroll, then we can help you with that as well.
Okay. Okay, Brent. Let me make it clear. So this is timekeeping and payroll.
Correct.
So
And we have,
what is your opinion? Should it what is better? This is combined together, or which is better? There is a separate timekeeping system and a separate payroll system.
yeah, of course, together. I mean, the fact that the two systems talk to each other creates enormous efficiency and visibility. And right now, when everyone's working from home, to have a system that people can clock in and clock out effortlessly is an enormous benefit for
Okay,
organizations.
okay. The reason why I invited you here is not for us to actually introduce who Salarium is, but the reason why I invited you here, because I am curious how you are going to help those organizations that would like to track for employees who are working from home or remotely. I learned that you have a new system for that tracking. Can you tell us that now as quickly as you can?
Yeah, so it's a very simple system. It's a employee ESS that people access off their phone. They literally go in there, and when they're going to start work, they click. That ESS has all their shifts, all their schedules, all their leaves, and also their pay slips. So it's a one-stop shop for employees, and they use that to clock in when they're working at home.
So that means they still have to clock in.
Yes. So they just literally click a button on the screen, and then that logs them in for the day and
What do you
reflects in
mean screen? My laptop screen or
yeah,
my cell phone screen?
your laptop screen or your mobile phone screen. It doesn't matter, either or.
Is there a possibility that I click it in, then I slip?
Yeah, slip and what?
And eat maybe you're doing other things, but at
Yeah.
least the person has already clocked in remotely.
Yes, correct. And then
But of course,
that
yes. What an ignoramus question. But of course, after they clock in, the supervisor have to check if they're working, right? Am I right?
yes. So your normal work objectives obviously are still going to apply, but basically you've acknowledged to your organization you're at work, and the administrator will see that immediately on their screen. So right now, for example, I could look at our system and see how many people are at work today, who are sick today, who have not turned up today, instantaneously, just by looking at my administrator's screen. But for the employee working from home, they just log in and click one button, which is a login, clock in button, and they've acknowledged that they're at work.
So at least you now have a tracking system where, say for Toto and for Jeffrey and PMAP, either in them will be able to uh, reckon if they click on the screen.
Yes,
But it will be the job of Richard to check if they're really working or not.
correct. Yes.
But at least there is now a facility wherein it goes straight into the computation of their payroll.
Correct. And an important aspect is the shift. It's also the mechanism to communicate shifts. So my shift today is 9 to 5. Tomorrow
Oh, so
it's
that
8
is
to
the
4.
additional.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that
yeah.
is.
So it also tells me when I'm expected to be at work, and obviously I work towards that.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Because
Mm.
I'm 64, Brent, but
You
anything that
wouldn't think
is
so. You look a lot younger than that.
anything that is yeah, thank you. Anything that is innovative, anything that is new, we have to share this because nobody should be left behind. Just imagine if up to now you are still on bandy clock, but there is already the sophisticated system. So last question before you give your parting words. How affordable is that? Oh, of course, you will not mention that. They have to PM you.
Yes. It is very affordable. It's a rate per employee, and I won't share the details here. But if you PM me on Messenger, Brent Denning, or sales@salarium.com. Of course, we
Okay, okay.
can.
I still have a question. Pardon by asking this. Are there other providers having this, what do you call this, solution?
There are other solutions in the marketplace. We are Philippines based. We're a Philippines organization, so we are the most Philippines centric for this solution. So and we're very proud of that.
Okay, we are not keeping time. Brent, can we now have your parting words before I say thank you to you, Brent?
Yeah. Yeah, so if you want to get in control of your workforce, particularly in these difficult times, then Salarium is here to help. So please reach out.
Oh, that's it, Brent?
That's it.
Yeah, you're really very Australian. Quick, but still charming. So there goes, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have my music. Let's have my music. This is actually for for my niece Jam and Joe. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. The reason why I invited my friend Brent is for us to be updated. The problem is I'm using this in my webinars. The problem is how are we going to keep track with our people now? And then working from home will become the better normal. We have already identified some jobs wherein it's better for them to stay at home. So the next problem, how are we going to track them? So I asked it. I'm sorry for Brent because I asked the question. Are there other providers? Yes. So it's for us HR. Are we still going to be on the pre-COVID, wherein we still list our employees on a piece of paper, or we're still on the bandy clock? Our system is bandy. Of course, that is still a system. Then you go Excel, or there are already what you call sophisticated systems wherein we can use it to be facilitated. For manpower planning, for HR supervisory, I'm going to have with PMAP. Let's do it now if you can afford it. But even if you can afford it, budget it because it's needed. It's needed most. Because how will you track your employees? How are you going to pay your employees wherein there is less a face-to-face interaction or engagement? And then we are assured that there is cybersecurity for that. And of course, if it is done by computers, then there is more accuracy. So, ladies and gentlemen, try to look into our timekeeping activities because President Michelle, in one of the annual conferences of PMAP, mentioned this. There are some activities of HR that will be gone. And I recently had an ILO study. Yes, we have to really not only upskill, reskill, we have to be rising stars as far as digitization is concerned. We have to make sure that keeping track of time will not be anymore done by people. The machines can do it for us so that the timekeeper, the Kanban analyst, can now be upskilled or reskilled to perform other essential functions for HR. I hope you're getting me right. The timekeepers can be uh, made upskilled to be in charge of organization development, for L&D, for mentoring. So that is our episode. It's not only that we are talking about timekeeping and payrolling. My point is, let us get one. If you think there is a better or another provider that can suit your needs, go. But what we learned from Salarium is that they have this system wherein it's cloud based. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. We in HR must always be updated. If you want to be a digitalent, if you want to be that rising star, you have to make sure that now you are resilient, you are getting to be agile, then later on, you have to make sure that you are digital. Bring your organization into that digital world. And then PIMAP will be happy because we are one embracing the fourth industrial revolution, wherein we are now using cloud-based systems for our timekeeping and payroll. This is Jesse Rebustillo, just marvelous